In Tokyo, during this Olympics, there have been four new events that have been added. One of these events is skating. Um, Skateboarding is really a niche kind of thing, and also was taboo during the 1970s, 1980s. Really looked down upon, and still is looked down upon in very conservative areas around the world. However, to grab in a very young audience and to really reinvigorate the Olympics again and support for the Olympics, they added in more niche, but also more age appropriate and young appropriate sports like surfing and also like skateboarding. Same as they did in the Winter Olympics, they added in the half pipe, added in a lot more like X Games, Red Bull style basically events, really to reinvigorate the population again, and also to bring a new kind of attitude and new kind of flavor to what we're seeing. And you can see here, with skateboarding, it is a very young sport. It also has very young participants. As we can see here, during the women's street skate event, we have made history here. All right. First of all, the person who won the gold medal was Monamichi Nisaya, 13 years old, the youngest person to win a gold medal, youngest athlete, to win a gold medal in the Olympics, alongside the youngest podium as well, because the person who wins silver for Brazil is also 13, and another Japanese teenager by the name of Funa Nakayama also won a bronze medal, and she's age 16. So it's a great achievement, and I congratulate them on that achievement. It really is a good thing, competing at the top of your class, competing at the top of the world, being one of the best in your sport, actually being the best in the world at your sport at that moment in time. However, there's a few concerns that are pushed and have been pushed in the past, because we've seen young athletes in the past, very young athletes, 13 as well, but it's not in skateboarding, but it is in gymnastics. For a long time during the Cold War, during the last, I think, half a century, we've been seeing a lot of young, not even teenage kids, actually, gymnasts being put into the spotlight to compete for their country, usually age 14 to 16, all right, being because their balance is better, they're less heavy, they actually can compete at a higher capacity than a lot of older gymnasts. Gymnastics is a sport that really is defined by age. Usually when you get older, usually in your late 20s, you usually stop gymnastics. Usually with gymnastics, you compete in the Olympics at a very young age. I think the normal for very good gymnasts to compete in the Olympics is around 16. You're still a child. You're still a teenager that's trying to go through things, and you can be as young as 13. All right? Some of them are. And there have been a lot of concerns. Really, a lot of concerns with pushing children into the spotlight and also giving them notoriety when they actually do win. Of course, I do think that you have to give these children a chance if they want to, of course. And you know what? They win gold medals. I mean, if you look at skateboarding, all of these people are the best of the best, and despite their age. All right, they have a lot of potential ahead of them. And also, it's a great opportunity for them as well to really make a living and also to compete. I have no problem with that. The problem is with privacy, and also with gaining fame. That's the problem, right? Because these children are growing up in a place where they're famous, where they're going to get a lot of support, a lot of followers, a lot of paparazzi, a lot of sponsorships, interviews after the fact that they win. And the fact of the matter is, can they handle it? It's a tough question, really, because some people can, but others can't. Because they're children and their brains are still developing, there's a lot of issues that surround mental health. Alright, we see this with singers, young singers, child actors. We see them turn out horribly in the past. Alright, we can look at different case studies. JB, Justin Bieber, is a very notable example of what, being in the spotlight can really do to your mental health and also do to your character as well. Because in many interviews, he said that he has permanent mental damage from all the touring, all the girls screaming, all the fame. He has permanent mental damage because of all the excitement, of all the excitement, and also all the notoriety that came with his rise to power. Really, he doesn't feel that much anymore, and it's a sad reality. And it's a sad thing that has happened to him. But it's also something that can happen to child athletes, as we can see here. Excuse me. The problem is not that whether they can compete. Of course, they can compete, and I think they should compete. The problem is how are we going to respond, and how's the general public going to respond around them winning? How's the atmosphere going to be after they win? After they basically go back and reintegrate into civilian life before the next Olympics. Because these children, all right, 13 or 16, they still have to go to high school. Many of them go to university, many of them take their sports to the collegiate level, and then they go back into the Olympics again to compete just a year before. In that 3-year period of time, a lot can happen during that time. A lot of development will happen during that time, and you don't know what will happen as well. The main issue is protecting these people, right? These athletes, these child athletes, is to protect them, because we've seen in the past a culture not being very favorable towards them, and they basically quit the sport. They quit competing. They quit competing for the Olympics because they can't handle, or they will not be able to really cope with the fame anymore. And that's a sad reality. And that's something that has to be debated, if there should be an age limit on who competes in the Olympics, due to the coverage of the Olympics and due to the massive scale of what will happen if they do perform very, very well. All right, that's something that's to be taken into account, and also has to be looked at as we have more sports, not only gymnastics, but now skateboarding, and other sports as well, coming into the fold where the Olympics is reforming, and there needs to be a consensus and a culture surrounding how we treat child athletes, and what to do and what not to do, all right, and how to respect their privacy. Also have some rules surrounding and protection surrounding all of these things. That has to be the case, and that needs to happen. Anyways, all right, on to the next thing,